ještě uděláme i tak. Super, tak jo, tak já tady zdravím všechny, co se v dnešní odpoledne rozhodli připojit na náš livestream o studiu MBA právě ve Spojených státech amerických. Já se jmenuji Hani, ale dneska tady mám hlavně special guest Markétu, která studovala MBA v Americe na University of Pennsylvania a bude nám sdílet její vlastní zkušenosti, což je vždycky to nejlepší, co můžete mít. A Marky, já tě zdravím, ahoj, díky, že jsi připojila.
Ahoj.
Super. A vás, diváci, určitě vyzývám k tomu, abyste otázky, co v průběhu budete mít, psali do chatboxu a my vám na konci samozřejmě rádi zodpovíme. Pokud jste tady na ten livestream teďka narazili úplně náhodou, tak já v rychlosti představím, kdo jsem já, co je Education USA, co pro vás můžeme udělat a pak už to předám Marké, kvůli které jste se připojili a ta vám řekne něco o MBA. Takže Marky, já poprosím přepnout na další slide. A tady vidíte, že Education USA je takový network, který poskytuje zdarma poradenství, pokud chcete studovat v Americe. Takže pokud jste středoškoláci a zvažujete, že byste chtěli vystudovat bakaláře nebo magistra v Americe, určitě se na mě můžete obrátit, to poradenství probíhá zdarma a já vám pomůžu od toho, jak si najít školu, přes jak si zajistit financování, jak zažádat o stipendia, až teďka s některými studenty, co jsou aktuálně ve čtvrťáku, řešíme přesně víza, předodletovou orientaci a oni vlastně teďka maturují a potom o prázdninách budou cestovat do Ameriky. Takže na to se moc těším a pokud jste teda tady v této situaci a chcete něco prodiskutovat, poradit, tak se neváhejte ozvat. Na dalším slajdu uvidíte potom, že máme centra po celé České republice. A to hlavní centrum, které vedu já, tak funguje virtuálně, takže se mi můžete ozvat na e-mail, můžete mi napsat na WhatsApp, můžete přes kontaktní formulář na webovkách a můžete mi napsat, co potřebujete. Jestli potřebujete jenom s nějakou částí pomoc, třeba s esejema, nebo jestli vás zajímá jenom financial aid, klidně mi napište, ráda se s váma online potkám, a nebo můžete zajít buď v Plzni, v Ústí, v Olomouci, v Brně, v Ostravě nebo v Praze do našich amerických center, kde moji kolegové taky poskytují zdarma poradenství ke studiu, k práci, k nějakým letním výjezdům do Ameriky, takže neváhejte. No a ještě poslední, co tady k tomu všemu nabízíme, jsou právě ty naše služby. A to jsou buď ty konzultace, které můžou probíhat osobně, online, můžete s kamarádkou, s rodiči, bez rodičů, jak chcete, nebo kdybyste se pak připravovali na SATčka, nebo na TOEFL zkoušky, nebo na GRE zkoušky, tak máme knihovnu, můžu vám půjčit knížky a děláme právě tady ty živá vysílání nebo webináře, máme akce, čeká nás velká alumni a networking akce v Praze v červnu, takže všecko, co se děje, se dozvíte buď v newsletteru, který naskenujete si ten QR kód a dostanete se na něj, anebo na sociálních sítích pod tím handlem EducationUSA Czech. Takže tolik o EducationUSA, pokud chcete studovat v Americe. A dneska teda Market, která se nám představí a poví nám něco o MBA v Americe. Marky, je to tvoje.
Tak super, děkuju moc krát, Hani, a děkuju, že si mě sem přizvala. Vítejte všichni právě na mé přednášce o zkušenostech z MBA v Americe. Všechny vás vítám. Jak už víte, přednáška bude v angličtině, protože je důležité mít dobrou úroveň angličtiny, aby to MBA vůbec dávalo smysl. Protože hlavní zaměření je právě na kariérní postup a za druhé, protože je to pro mě i také jednodušší, protože veškerá jakoby vlastně slova znám většinou v angličtině a už jsem právě pracovala v Americe kolem 10 let, takže vám můžu právě o tom popovídat trochu. Ale to neznamená samozřejmě, že tedy nemůžete mě zastavit, když něčemu nerozumíte, ráda to vysvětlíme v češtině a samozřejmě otázky v obou jazycích. A další věc, kterou bych chtěla jenom zdůraznit, že tato přednáška je založena na mých zkušenostech, osobních zkušenostech, takže je možné, že se i věci jakoby změnily za tu dobu, když jsem se já připravovala, což bylo 2000 2018 a teďka jsem absolvovala Wharton už před skoro 2 lety teďka. Takže říkám, mohlo se to změnit a je to samozřejmě ovlivněno mými zkušenostmi ze školou a s Whartonem. Ale pokusím se samozřejmě odpovědět jakékoliv otázky, jak nejlépe budu moci. Dobře, takže teď už přepnu do angličtiny. Once again, welcome everyone. As I mentioned in Czech, this presentation will be based on my personal experiences with MBA. So certain things might be slightly different and of course a little bit influenced by my experience, but I will try to answer any questions you might have. So let's jumping into the presentation. Just quickly, I wanted to talk about what I prepared for you. Upfront, want to just do a quick introduction and background so you have a little bit of understanding where I'm coming from. Then I would like to talk about the journey to an MBA. So the way I determined the rationale, do I need it, do I not need it, how I decided to select the different schools, about my GMAT story, and how I then went to preparing the different applications. The third point will be solely focus on my life at Wharton. So this would be, settling in, what were my priorities for those 2 years and what I took from it. And then I will close with my life after Wharton. So how am I applying what I've learned and what are kind of the next steps for me? And then we will open it up to Q&A, and I'll try to answer all of your questions then. All right, so jumping in. So just quickly about me, I obviously was born and raised in the Czech Republic, but I decided to get a bachelor degree in the US. I went to a small liberal arts school, Dickinson College in Pennsylvania. And in 2014, when I graduated, I joined Deloitte in Silicon Valley in the Bay Area, predominantly focusing on advising technology clients. Then after a year, I didn't get my visa. As you can probably relate to, that is quite a complicated process. But what I did, I decided to transfer with Deloitte to London. I was in London about 3 years, really enjoyed my time, worked closely with the Deloitte UK CEO, and of course on typical consulting projects. And then I decided to move back to the US again with Deloitte. So I made the transfer back to the States, this time into Washington, D.C. And I was there for another 3 years, predominantly focusing on life sciences and healthcare clients. And at that point, I applied for MBAs. COVID happened as well, so my first year was also delayed a little bit. I deferred for a year, and then I started my MBA. I knew I wanted to focus on technology. So I interned at Microsoft as a product marketing manager, and coming back into the workforce, I decided to return back to Deloitte. They were also sponsoring my education. And since then, I've been mainly focusing on advising technology companies across a variety of different business issues. All right, so that's a little bit of introduction and background about me. Let's jump into the actual journey to an MBA. And again, this might differ from person to person, but at least it will give you some idea of the way I approached it. So first, I divided it into 4 areas: my rationale, choice of school, GMAT/GRE, or any standardized tests that are required, and then the actual applications. So for the rationale, generally people decide to get an MBA a little bit later in their careers. So potentially slightly different from Europe. In the US, you get your bachelor and then you work for a couple of years, anywhere between 2 to 10 years. I had about 7 years of experience. I wanted to expand my network. So anywhere you go, it will allow you to expand network with people of different backgrounds. In my classroom, there was an actress, there were people from NGOs from around the world. There were people from, of course, the technology space, consulting, investment banking. But also people that started their own businesses. So you get a very wide range of individuals, and it's, just really exciting to learn from them. And that could influence how you see your career going forward. And of course, once you have that network, it will be much easier as you're going through your career, potentially applying to different jobs. Having a strong network like that behind you serves a huge purpose for you to actually get to those roles. Second thing was really around honing leadership skills. So at Deloitte, I already ran several projects, oversaw people and teams, but I wanted to determine what type of leader I actually am, what type of team member I am. And a lot of these MBA programs create very strong leadership programs around how to determine that. And I can go in a little bit more detail what Wharton specifically does, but that was something that I wanted to focus on. Third is really around increasing compensation. So once you go through the MBA process and start applying to full-time roles, those roles will have their compensation adjusted for MBA students. So much higher than potentially someone that wouldn't have an MBA. This might differ slightly in Europe, but that is definitely one of the determining factors in the US. And then lastly, it's pivoting and broadening career opportunities. So something that I mentioned in expanding the network, a lot of people get their MBA to pivot. So a lot of, let's say you have done science or engineering, and now you want to pivot into business, MBA would be a perfect way to do that. Second, so this is the choice of school. So like, how do you go about thinking and determining what school is the right school for you? Again, this is coming from a US-centric approach, but you can apply it, broadly around the world as well. The first one is location. Do you want to be in a big city, small city? With respect to the US, do you want to be on the West Coast or East Coast? I wanted to be in a big city, and I needed to be on the East Coast because of my husband. So for me, that kind of narrowed my options down. Brand and reputation is also really important. So, generally, the advice is if you are getting an MBA, the programs are generally going to be the same with some exceptions, but it's the brand and the reputation of the school that really carries you forward. So looking at the top 10, top 15, top 20 will go far, especially on a global level. The other thing to consider is specific program specialization. So, Wharton obviously is known as a finance school, but in the past, several years, and even before that, they have built a very strong programs all over. For example, just to mention a couple, innovation and technology, something that I was really focused on and interested in. Marketing is really strong. HBS, Harvard Business School, is generally more kind of a generic MBA. Stanford is a much smaller classrooms, and because of the nature of being in the Bay Area, students tend to go and start their own businesses. Kellogg focused on marketing. So you can, do your research and see which schools have your specific program that you would be interested in. But in general, every school can provide something for everyone. Type, so full-time, part-time, executive. Full-time in the US, that generally means 2 years. You can find programs that are 1 year. In Europe, that is more, in Europe and globally as well, 1 year is common, like, for example, at INSEAD, or I know at London Business School, you can choose, or that at least was 2 years back or 3 years back, where you could choose, okay, I'll just go for 1 year or a year and a half or 2 years. So again, figure out what you want to do, and that combines with the full-time and program length. Part-time, that means that you would be working side by side. That might be a little bit more challenging and complex. And executive, that's more when you reach a certain level in an organization, and you do an executive MBA. And then I already mentioned that leadership programs, so depending on what type of programs each school offers, Wharton was very known for its leadership program, and specifically what caught my attention was the Venture Fellows program, or Leadership Ventures, which is basically you go on these ventures to Antarctica, Patagonia. You spend 7 days on a boat, and you're in these extreme environments and have to learn what type of leader you are and actually start applying some of the leadership things that you've learned in the classrooms. So I'm getting ahead of myself, but that's an example of type of leadership programs. And of course, alumni network, how large the school is, and what that could do for you. And then, of course, cost. Generally, that doesn't vary much. It is quite pricey overall, regardless of the school. All right, number 3 is the GMAT. So I have a little bit of love and hate relationship with any standardized testing. I spent quite a lot of time preparing for it. Used courses, one-on-one mentoring. It's really about knowing what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses, and what is the right test for you. So I didn't mention GRE here because I only took GMAT, but that's another option for you, and there might be potentially other tests in the future. But right now it's GMAT, GRE, and when I was applying, GMAT was kind of the golden standard that you could get to and apply to any schools with that test. And of course, how do you think about that with respect to the entire MBA application? It's just one data point. So even if you do get a lower score, perhaps you have a really strong story overall, and that will make you stand out. And that takes me to the last point, which is around applications. So what goes into applications? I'm not going to go into too much detail, but generally academic transcripts, obviously, as I mentioned, standardized test scores, professional network experience. So that's a really important one. Talking about what you've accomplished in the time that you've been working. Essays. So generally, it's about 2 to 3 to 4 essays per school, depending, again, on the program. Wharton specifically, when I was applying, had two essays. One was focusing why do you want to go to Wharton? What do you want to get out of the experience? And the second one was more focused on what you actually going to bring to the community. And generally, that is similar to a couple other schools as well. English language proficiency, depending on what your English level is, you might need to provide that. And then recommendations. So that could be from people that you worked with, your professors, anyone that could speak to your accomplishments, or who you are as a person. And last point here, it's just it's support. So in submitting applications. So I personally used Applicant Lab. That was and it is an online platform where it's basically self-paced, and it's up to you to write these essays and gather information, but they help you with finding the right schools, tailoring your application, tailoring your essays. So that was quite helpful for me. But of course, there are a bunch of other opportunities, like potentially hiring consultants, but I myself don't really have experience with that. All right, so that's just a high-level overview of my journey to an MBA. You might have more questions later as well. So let me jump to my life at Wharton. Again, I can spend quite a lot of time speaking about this experience, but the two things I really wanted to delve deeper into is priorities and what surprised me. So why I think the priorities are important is there is so much that you can do when you're already in an MBA program, and having set of priorities will help you with making decisions on a day-to-day basis. Some people say it's like drinking from a fire hose. Like I said, there are people from so many different backgrounds. There's so many different social events. There's so many different academics, courses, opportunities that you can get involved in. And not having clear priority list will make it quite difficult for you to be everywhere. So for me, the three main priorities, and that changed over the course of 2 years, but when I started, it was career. I wanted to secure an internship in a technology industry. I wanted to learn more about it. So that meant that I prioritized sessions with the Career Center, sessions with prospective employers about their companies, preparation for applications, for interviews. Wharton and any MBA school will offer support on the Career Center side, but also they have different clubs that are focused on that are student-led and are focused on helping you through the application process. So I prioritize events that were hosted by the Technology Club, so I could really set myself forward to get a good internship in this space. The second part or second priority for me was social life. I wanted to develop a strong network of peers. So I prioritized opportunities where I could do that, where I could make friends, learn from people from different backgrounds. And that was through more, not professional clubs, but more social clubs. I was involved in like food club and tennis club and a bunch of other clubs where you could meet people in a more informal environment. And lastly, it was the academics and leadership. I think that was really important to learn from different classes, but I knew that the application was even more important. So if there was a decision I had to make between a career activity and an academic activity, at that beginning of my time at Wharton, I would prioritize the career activities. And then, of course, the leadership was also quite important for me. So if there were any events that were focused on leadership, I focused on that. And that takes me to what surprised me. So one thing that I was surprised about is the minute you actually, set your foot on campus, you are already part of the school, and you're already thrown into the internship process. So like you start, let's say in August and September, you already start preparing your resume, go to different employers, fairs, and events, and start preparing your applications. If you have time over the summer, or even before that, be very clear on what you want to go after. What is the internship that you want to do over the summer? That will save you quite a lot of time. And the second part is you can't really do everything. There is just so many things, as I already mentioned, that you can be part of. So again, being able to figure out what the trade-offs are and what you want to focus on will be quite crucial. All right, so let me go to next slide, which is, oops. So this is just a fun snapshot of all of my experiences at Wharton. I'm not going to go through all of them, but just you can see like on the top left corner where we're swimming in the river or pond, whatever that is, that was actually part of the leadership venture that we had a summer training, and it was really focused on survival skills, but also how do you work in a team, what type of team member you are, what type of leader you are, how do you actually start applying those experiences that you perhaps learn in classrooms or in other aspects of Wharton or even before Wharton, and how do you apply it in an unfamiliar environment like this. In kind of top in the middle, like I mentioned, I interned at Microsoft in Seattle, which was an incredible experience. I absolutely loved it, and I learned so much. Right next to it is a show from our dance club that we do once a year. It's quite large in Wharton and so much fun, and you just get to meet so many people, and you don't have to have any dance experience. There are people, again, student-led and people with no experience whatsoever. And generally you see like it's a lot of camaraderie, a lot of fun activities where you go to park and just spend time with people, learn about them, learn about their lives, their experiences, and that's really what that social life or that networking part is all about. Building genuine connections with your peers from all over the world. All right, and then I'll just go to the last part of this presentation, which is my life after Wharton. So as I mentioned, I decided to return back to my firm, Deloitte Consulting. I decided to stay in Philadelphia. So I'm actually speaking to you right now from Philadelphia. And as I mentioned before, I'm mainly focusing on the technology sector, focused on marketing, go-to-market strategy, and I have been working at for the top 3 cloud provider there. And then, of course, Gen AI is such a large unknown for a lot of companies. So I've been involved in figuring out what does this actually mean? What are the different use cases that we can have conversations with our clients about, specifically with respect to marketing function and marketing applications. All right, so that was about me, and I would love to now open it up for questions. So I'll hand it over to Hani, and she will just read out some questions that you guys already asked.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. So
yeah.
You guys, many of you sent questions beforehand, and that's funny because those are in Czech. But then many of you joined our live stream with Markéta. And Markéta, thank you so much for sharing everything. And you guys had tons of questions that reflected that Markéta spoke in English, and those are in English. So we will have a
we'll do Czech in English.
Yeah. So we'll start with those that are in English. So there was a question right in the beginning. You mentioned that you studied at Dickinson College. So we received a question, what major did you study, and if it helped you when applying to MBA?
Yes, so my major, it was a liberal arts school, so that basically means you get to try a variety of different courses, and you are actually uh, you're supposed to try different courses across science,
Mhm,
social studies, business. I did major in international business.
mhm,
And it was something that I was interested about, but also originally I wanted to actually major in political science, but then I
mhm,
realized that as an international student, as someone who needed sponsorship, visa sponsorship, I figured out that political science might be a little bit too difficult for
mhm,
that.
mhm,
Not impossible, but that was the reason why I switched to business because I thought it would be a lot more broader. It would provide me with a lot more opportunities to
mhm.
find a job right after that.
Perfect.
And
All right. Thank
just if it
you.
helped me with the application, I don't think it was necessarily a determinant factor. Probably not. Like I think it wouldn't really make any difference if I majored in political science or if I majored in
Mhm,
biology at that point. Like I said, MBA is really focused on a lot of people that want to pivot and are doing business for the first time. But then you also have people that have done consulting, investment banking, and have been in business. So I wouldn't say that that would be something that necessarily helped me amongst other aspects.
mhm. Okay. So that kind of goes hand in hand with the question, is it hard to study for GMAT if I don't have a bachelor degree in this political science background and business background?
No, it's not. GMAT, like any standardized tests,
Mhm,
are kind of very specific, if I remember correctly, and forgive me because it's been quite many years back. You have a verbal part,
mhm,
so that's focused on, how do you read, how do you take in information. It's about critical thinking.
mhm,
Um, so that's the verbal part. Then you have a quantitative part. So
mhm,
that I don't think any like, I mean, if you do business, that might help slightly, or if you do math,
mhm,
that might help. But it's something that you've most likely learned in high school with respect to math. It's really about your quantitative thinking. And that's why I think it's really important to um, do practice tests and prepare for it. Either go to course or there's a bunch of resources online or books that you can take advantage of.
mhm.
But I don't think you necessarily need a business background at all.
Okay. All right. So did you only apply to Wharton or did you apply to more schools for MBA?
Yeah, so I did apply to four schools. I
Mm-hmm.
applied to again, going back to what I said about the determining factors of how I picked the schools.
Mm-hmm.
Location was important for me, brand was important for me. So I applied to Wharton, which was in Philadelphia on the East Coast, Stern,
Mm-hmm.
New York University, so that was in New York, Columbia,
Mm-hmm.
CBS,
Mm-hmm.
and HBS, Harvard Business School. So four
Mm-hmm.
schools in total. I know people that have applied to like 10 schools, but
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be very focused and very specific with my applications. And of course, like I already mentioned with some of those aspects of the how I decide and about the schools that I go to.
Okay, perfect. Did Wharton teach you all that you need for today's world? You know, being in business, working in that area. Did they teach you everything that's currently trendy and what you need really?
Yes, I do think they did. And it's I, the way how I think about any type of education is that a good education prepares you to be a curious person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because yes, Wharton or Dickinson College can and teach you about specific things and what's currently in and like about Gen AI and like innovation, like they have all of these experts and
Mhm.
people that can talk about their experience. But I think it's really around forming you and shaping you into a person that's curious and it's
Mhm.
able to be flexible and respond to the changing environments. We're
Mhm.
currently, and we've always lived in a world that's constantly changing, and you think that you're going a certain path and then you have to switch. And being someone that's able to do that and is able to respond to changes and make him or herself invaluable in that environment, I think it's the most important thing. And I think that is exactly what Wharton does.
Mhm. Mhm.
It gives you, I think there's that healthy balance between selecting what you want to focus on. So for me,
Mhm.
it was strategy. So I took a lot of strategy classes and marketing as well. But then it also gives you quite a lot of flexibility in other type of courses that you can take and um, explore things that you might not been comfortable doing before.
Mhm.
Um, you can actually take some classes in other schools, not
Mhm.
just Wharton School, but we had people that were actually studying medicine and law, and it allows you to a certain degree, take classes outside of that as well. So,
Mhm.
so giving you that flexibility um, makes it really easy for you to deep dive into the type of work that you want to do or learn more about, but it also gives you the opportunity to try different things as well. Um, so I think that's the way how it's built. The second thing for me that I think Wharton was really great about was that the leadership program,
Mhm.
because no matter where you go, you have to work with in business with teams. You probably have to lead people and teams as well, and figuring out who you are as a leader, who you are as a team member is super important. Wharton has an incredible leadership program, and I would encourage you to look online.
Mhm.
And just to mention a couple, I already mentioned the leadership ventures, where you go to an unfamiliar and an environment where you've never been before, and you have to learn new skills and work with other people under pressure. Like I led a venture where we were on a sailing boat for 7 days without the ability to, touch go to Earth and
Mhm.
go to a different place. You were on a boat with people, and you have to figure out how to basically survive. So I
Mhm.
think that's an incredible and opportunity to do that. Other aspects of the leadership program that Wharton offers are peer-to-peer program where you talk to your peers about your passions, what do you want to accomplish in your life, how do you
Mhm.
actually combine career with those passions, and a couple other things.
Mhm.
So I think providing that framework and that skeleton and the scaffolding around leadership, I think helped me to be the right type of leader in today's world. And lastly, it's the incredible support that you get from the career center and from your
Mhm.
professors. You have uh, opportunity to work with experts in any field possible, and I think that's something that really came through to me. I became really good friends with a couple of my professors, where I could, talk over lunch about
Mhm.
certain questions I might have had. And that helped me then to figure out, okay, what do I actually want to do? The same thing with career services, preparing my applications for summer internships and getting where I needed to go is something that I'm super, super grateful.
That's awesome. You keep replying to all of these answers like while talking, which is amazing. There was a question though. You said that you worked in Deloitte after you finished bachelor's degree, right? Was
Yeah.
it through OPT or how did it work? They're basically asking how did you get this work experience?
Absolutely. So it was quite tough when I was
Mhm.
looking for my full-time job after I graduated from Dickinson. It
Mhm.
was a very small school, so I mainly focused on networking with the alumni, and
Mhm.
everybody has been incredibly supportive. I think I probably networked with like 100 people across different businesses to learn about their journeys and opportunities in their firms. And through that, I actually got into the process of getting a job at Deloitte. It was through my mentor and alumna from Dickinson that ended up hiring me. But the first year I was on OPT, and then Deloitte told me, and they already applied for H-1B, which is basically the other visa that would allow me to stay longer. But then at the point when I was applying in 2014, it was a lottery. So only about, I don't know, 25% people actually got it. And I wasn't one of them. So I received a decision that I wasn't selected for the H-1B at the end of the OPT period. And that's why I had to move to Europe. And at that point, I moved to London when London was still part of EU. So I didn't have issues with visas there. But yeah, I think that answers the question.
That's perfect. Thank you. There's also a question, if it's hard to get a sponsor for your MBA.
Just to confirm, I understand what you're saying is sponsored by your current company, right?
Yes. If it's hard to find a company, who would be willing to pay. Yeah.
Yes, it might be. It might be easier in the US because it's more common. If you are in consulting, and with consulting firms, you generally would have the advantage of potentially having that option. I don't know about other industries. I think they're a little bit more rare. Generally, consulting firms are the firms that sponsor. And like I said, mainly in the US. Just to give you an example, Deloitte, because I was working with Deloitte UK and then Deloitte US. Deloitte UK didn't actually offer this sponsorship program. Deloitte US, however, does. They have a process to select people that will be sponsored. So you go through a whole application process, and then if you're selected, then you become the sponsored student. And that might be slightly different for other consulting firms, but in the US, consulting firms generally have these processes already in place. If you are at a company that doesn't offer that, I would still look into, okay, are there any opportunities for, like stipends or any additional support? And it's really about creating a strong business case, why that company should sponsor you, and what is it that you're going to bring to them, and how you're going to benefit them.
Well, okay, so there is a follow-up question to that. So are you required to stay with Deloitte now when they sponsored you for your studies for a certain period of time?
Yes, you are. I am. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the same thing for any other company, even if they don't have processes in place. If they're going to pay for your MBA, they will want you to come back for sure. Otherwise, you might need to pay that money back to them if you don't stay for that specific amount of time that they require.
Okay, thank you. There's also a follow-up because you said that you were trying to build a connection or connections throughout your peers. So the question is, like, did they let you in being an international student? Like, did they open up to you? I think that they're talking more about the Americans, but how did you feel being an international student there?
I didn't feel strange. I mean, I think it was mainly because I've already lived in the US before. But MBAs are incredibly international. I don't have the stats right now, but if you again look at Wharton website or any other school, you will see those numbers and the percentage. But I didn't feel alienated because I was from another country. I did actually make a lot of friends on with Americans and with international students alike. I think the way how MBA programs are structured, they want you to interact with people from different backgrounds, and even Americans, a lot of the Americans that go there have a lot of international experience, and they are looking to meet with people from other parts of the world. Like for example, I was the only Czech person in my, was it 900? I think it was 900 student class. And there were people from, Poland, from different countries in Africa and Asia, couple other European countries, South America. So this is the strength of an MBA program, that you can actually work with people from different backgrounds and from other countries. The only I guess threat that you will see is the English. That's why I'm saying why English is so incredibly important, because MBAs are so focused on the career front and making connections with your potential people that you might work with in the future. So knowing English well will get you far.
Guys, I think that you are there because you've been sitting with us here for 45 minutes and you're asking questions that are relevant, so your English is there. We have a few more questions, and it's actually funny that you said that you were the only one from the Czech Republic in your 800 people class, because there is a question if you knew that there is a Czechoslovakian club at UPenn, because there are so many Czech and Slovak students there, so if you met anyone there.
So actually, when I was saying I was the only Czech person in the MBA Wharton program, and you have Wharton, that's also bachelor. And actually, yes, I did interact with a couple people. I think it was, it was the Czechoslovakian club. We had like a WhatsApp group with folks in the bachelor program and in the master's program. But I haven't really interacted too much with them, just because there was just so many things that Wharton MBA program was offering. And it was really hard to even be able to try everything that my own program was offering. So I didn't end up spending too much time with the Czechoslovak community and the club in the broader Penn. But that's another strength of a large school, is that you do get the opportunities to interact with people in other parts of the school, other faculties. So something that, again, to consider as you're choosing the right school.
Perfect, thank you. We covered the alumni network. There is a question about you ended up at Deloitte, so do you know where your peers, where your friends, where your classmates, where did they go?
Yeah. So generally, and again, this is changing, but and this might not be fully accurate, but you can think about it maybe like a 5 big buckets of where people go. One is investment banking. So a lot of my friends were going back and forth between Philadelphia and New York, networking with different investment banks. So 1/5, I would say, like went to investment banking, then another 1/5 went to consulting. So MBBs, Bain, McKinsey, BCG. Then you have Deloitte Consulting, Strategy, and EY Parthenon, Kearney, LEK, so many other consulting firms. Then you have technology companies. So a lot of my friends went to Google, Microsoft. I was actually deciding whether I got an offer from Microsoft, whether to go to Microsoft or come back to Deloitte. So a couple of people went to Microsoft, Amazon, and a bunch of other technology firms. Then a couple of my friends started their own businesses. So one of my actually good friends, he started a business. It's called Groove, where he's using AI technology to design soles for shoes. And of course, like we have a bunch of other entrepreneurs that came out of Wharton, like Warby Parker with glasses and a couple other ones. And then the last bucket, I would say that that's a little bit more ambiguous. That's maybe going to business roles across different sectors. So of course, like life sciences and healthcare, there's a huge life sciences and healthcare program, or healthcare management, I think that's what it's called at Wharton. So
Mhm.
people went to pharma companies, and uh, a lot of firms also offer leadership programs where they bring you in. It's like a program for a year or two, and they
Mhm.
rotate you through different functions in their organization. And it's basically a way for you to come out of the program as a leader in that company. They already are investing in you, and they want you to stay with the company and become the next generation of leadership.
Mhm, mhm. All right, thank you. I think that there is one last question, and you guys, please, if I skipped some of your questions, feel free to retype them, and we are happy to answer them later. But the one question that really I wrote it down is for you, Marketa, because you have the background in the Czech Republic, and there is a question if you feel like it's worth it to get an MBA in the United States and then come back to the Czech Republic. If you think that people here can appreciate it, because apparently this person has a feeling that we might be looking down upon MBA here, and if he is not lucky enough to stay in the United States, if it's still worth it and recognized in the Czech Republic the same way it is in the United States.
That's a great question, and I don't know if I can fully answer that
Mm-hmm.
from my own experience, but I agree that it is not as valued as it is in the U.S. In the
Mm-hmm.
U.S., and there's constantly discussions amongst experts and student body and business leaders, like, is MBA still relevant in this world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is still relevant, definitely in the US, definitely in, I think, other parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I know in Czech Republic, yes, it will definitely give you an edge,
Mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't necessarily say it would be um, you know, deciding factor,
Mm-hmm.
if they should hire you or not. I think in the Czech Republic, and it's a growing economy. And I think there's a lot of opportunities that are coming up right now. I think what will be even more important for them that you can kind of tell the story through an MBA is, I have global experience. I went to one of the, let's say, 10 best business schools globally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I learn from experts around the world. I have network in X, Y, and Z countries and X, Y, and Z functions. So it's maybe not the thing that, like, oh, I have a Wharton on my resume, even though it is impressive. It's more what it provides you, right? It
Mm-hmm.
provides you with all of these experiences that you can then translate in the Czech environment. And I
Mm-hmm.
think more and more um, Czech firms are looking for people that have those experiences, that know, how to operate in this global environment. So if it's maybe not something that will be, that obvious, 2, 3 years after your MBA, it will definitely set you forward in the long term. It is an expensive endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely something to include in your calculations and in the decision-making process. It is not cheap, and but it is more, like I already mentioned, it's the ROI, return on investment, that you get over the course of your career. It's not just something that you get your first job, but it's something that will help you in your job, in your career later on, where you'll be able to reach out to CEOs of different companies, probably at that time that they're already leading different companies, or you will be able to get advice from founders from around the world. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's That's the important aspect that the MBA would give you if you wanted to stay in the Czech Republic.
Thank you. Thank you. And he's thanking you for the encouragement. So thank you, Markéta, for sharing your personal experience, for talking about MBA to our students and viewers. You guys, this is going to be it from us. But if you have questions, feel free to type it underneath the chat box and we'll get to them later. Market, thank you so much. And you guys, thank you for being here with us today. Have a great day. Bye.
Ahoj.